This is a Red FM Vancouver podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe for more great content. For further info, log on to redfm.ca.
Mr. Wilkinson, welcome and good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Do you see the provincial election happening anytime soon?
Well, apparently Mr. Horgan wants an election nobody else does. I mean, it's become quite clear that we've got a lot of problems on our hands. The virus count is going far up. You just mentioned the banquet halls being closed. We see the schools going back, and there's a lot of concern there. And we haven't heard from anybody except Mr. Horgan and the NDP that they want an election anytime soon.
But are you aware of this agreement they had with the Green Party? Do you think it has some validity? You're a lawyer too.
Well, the concern is that they struck a deal with the Green Party back in 2017 to keep themselves in power, and that was fine when it suited them, and now when it doesn't suit them anymore, they pretend it doesn't exist. And John Horgan's coming up with these rather vague excuses why their agreement with the Greens doesn't hold them anymore. But the obvious question is, what's the motivation for having an election right now? The virus numbers are going up rapidly. Schools have just gone back in. There's a lot of concern and a lot of confusion about that. There's still no economic plan from the NDP, even though they were announced 3 months ago in Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. So people have a lot of questions. And somehow John Horgan and the NDP seem to think it's more important to talk about.
Why not? Like he's got the support of 69% people on pandemic. And I was talking to one Surrey activist who works at NDP. He says the Liberal Party doesn't want the election because they're low in polls. Are you kind of hesitating, or you don't want election because you're low in polls?
No, polls come and go. The previous poll had us 2 points apart. So we don't put a lot of stock in these polls that come and go. What we're more concerned about is seeing the quality of candidates coming forward, and we have extraordinary candidates coming forward all over the province. I think, in South Surrey, White Rock, there's already a very active race with strong candidates coming forward saying they want to run for our party. So I think on the ground we're seeing people saying that they want strong representation, they want decisive government, and they're just not seeing it with John Horgan. He's basically delegated everything to Bonnie Henry, and we have no economic plan. And I think you know that later this month we have $7 billion of sales tax and employers' health tax bills coming due, and a lot of that will be paid by small businesses in Surrey. Mm-hmm. And the question is, do they have the money?
So what was the reason of BC Opposition Caucus shuffle yesterday? Are BC Liberals preparing for election too? Then what is this shuffle?
Well, we've had 7 retirements so far, and those positions all need to be replaced, of course, as we get ready to be critics of the government until the next election. So, of course, it called for a bit of rotation of positions, and people sometimes find when they're doing a certain job they would prefer to do a different job, so we accommodate that, and we moved around the critic roles all over the province so that, for instance, transportation now is managed by 2 people, one from Fort St. John and another one from Chilliwack.
11 of your MLAs are not kind of running next time. Do you have 87 candidates lined up for the election, if it's called?
We're at about 50 right now, and that's a good, strong number, and we're finding that the people coming forward, volunteering themselves, are extremely strong. We're delighted with the quality of candidates coming forward. We've had half a dozen nomination races already, and there's one underway right now in Vancouver Point Grey that is being done through the mail, and that will close, I think it's next Monday.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Wilkinson, what do you think about opening the schools in this province?
Well, we've been saying for months now what parents have been saying and what the teachers' union has been saying and what teachers have been saying, that there needs to be more online learning available. Think about a high school in Surrey. If there's an outbreak there of 2 or 3 or 4 cases, does the whole school close and they all go home for 2 weeks? Well, if that's the case, then what are they going to do for 2 weeks? They need the online learning set up, and that's been available in British Columbia for years, but the NDP cut $12 million out of the online budget back on May the 4th, which makes no sense whatsoever. Parents are crying out for more online learning options with teachers available to teach online, and the NDP have completely ignored those requests.
And talking about diversity, Jas Jawal is the only South Asian candidate in your caucus. Are you planning to bring more ethnic people or culturally diverse people into your 87 candidates? Right now you have 50. Rest of the candidates will involve some South Asian or people of color?
Oh, yes. I mean, we've got an active recruitment process going on in Surrey and North Delta and elsewhere. As you know, we have David Greywall running in Vancouver Fraserview, who's a very strong candidate. So we expect to have strong representation from the South Asian community in the next election, and we intend to win those seats.
Anything you'd like to say in closing?
Well, we're in a difficult time, obviously. The weather is beautiful, and people are looking out the window saying, why is life so difficult? The virus is part of the answer, but uncertainty is the main thing. We've heard about the banquet halls, that there's no real answer of how long they're supposed to be closed. Are there any rules to reopen? I spoke with Mr. Mann last night, and I think you're talking to him in the next hour. He tells me that they've been trying to get meetings with Harry Baines and Rashna Singh, Jagrup Brar, Gary Begg, Ravi Kalan, and they've been refused meetings. They have no explanation for when they'll be able to reopen. Does this apply to all of BC? So we're facing a huge amount of uncertainty in the school system and in the economy, and the NDP are failing to come through with the necessary online learning to back up the school system and back up the teachers and help our students, and they're failing to come through with any kind of economic plan. Other plans came out 3 months ago. Where's the plan, Mr. Organ?
If the election is called and in the event you become the premier of this province, would you reinstate that bridge that's turned into a tunnel now?
Oh, the Massey Tunnel. That is an issue that we are very keen to see resolved very quickly. It's the biggest traffic bottleneck in Western Canada. I've sat there for more than an hour going northbound in the afternoon. We saw recently there was an accident in one of the tunnels, and that blocks it for hours and hours and hours. This is not acceptable. That tunnel needs to be replaced. We had a large bridge ready to go, and the NDP canceled it. And our view is that replacement needs to be expedited on a fast track as soon as the next government forms. And we intend to form that government. If we do, there will be a replacement for that tunnel very quickly.
Replacement means you'll bring that original planned bridge back?
We'd have a quick look at it and sort out what the right bridge is, but our view is the bridge is the way to go. These people who talk about tunnels are ignoring the fact that the salmon population would be affected by tunnel construction, and it would be very expensive and difficult to build a tunnel.
Mr. Wilkinson, why don't you make a commitment?
Well, I'm not going to commit to a certain number of lanes because I'm not an engineer.
Well, there were engineers. They were passed by your party. Previous premier of Liberal Party has approved it.
They approved a 10-lane bridge, and we think that's a good idea. If that's still
then why don't commit with it?
If that's still the best plan when we form government, that may well be what we go ahead with. But we will look forward to expediting a fast-track replacement for the Massey Tunnel.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another Red FM podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and check out our Red FM Canada YouTube channel. For further info, log on to our Red FM social media platforms or visit redfm.ca.